Hi, everybody. foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by sharing a recent episode of the foXnoMad podcast with you. My guests today are Rob and Gary of the Journeymen Collective, which is a magic mushroom retreat in Canada. We talk about why people go there, what the experience is like, and answer a lot of questions you might have about psychedelics. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Rob and Gary.
Thank you guys very much for joining me. It's nice to have you on the podcast. You know, it, I guess when I came across, the retreat and psychedelics, I was like, all right, this has to be something that is out of the just out of the ordinary, but also something that's very interesting. How does this work? What happens when you go to the retreat and all of that? So I guess maybe you could help set us up and start with what we're all talking about here. So, where did the idea come from, and where is it located, and so on?
Sure. Yeah. So there's lots of questions in that, and there's lots of details that we can provide. So we are the founders of the Journeymen Collective, and we have created our company as a way to help entrepreneurs, movers, shakers, CEOs, executives, actors, athletes, and anyone who's really interested in creating a conscious business. And we believe that every single human on the planet, or for the most part, gets up to go to work every day, and they're working in a business or on a business. And if we can just be a little bit more consciously aware of who we are as human beings and be passionately and purposefully engaged in what we're doing, then we can satisfy a deep intrinsic need that we all have. And that intrinsic need is typically that we want to help people, that we want to make a contribution to others. And that is a big part of why we formed our company. And then if we dive right in, we guide people through plant medicine journeys. And it is a journey whereby we really get to know the people that we work with. We really create foundations of trust so that they can be fully vulnerable in that whole entire experience. There's a high degree of respect, intention, and integrity for the people that are coming in through the journeys with us. And a lot of the time people want to expand their actual businesses in the world of profit or impact. And that's what the mainstay of our business is helping people to do both of those. And then sometimes it's even expanding their love life, of finding that partner that they haven't been able to find. And we've been noticing a lot of people coming to us with a high degree of anxiety, depression, grief, and they just don't have that place to actually rest into themselves, and that container to really know thyself, know themselves, become more aware, clear out the baggage from the past, and really step into a full embodiment of who they're here to be in a passionate and purposeful way.
And so, how did the logistics start? So, for example, you're in Canada, um, and so do you book? Like, what is the retreat itself like? Like, how does that booking process even begin?
Sure. You would be directed to our website either through a referral or an article or a podcast like this, or the universe directed you to us. You would read through the website thoroughly, we hope, and there is a button called Apply to Connect. And you would book a call with us after filling out a small application form that gives us some information about who you are and where you're at and where you want to go in your life. Once the call is booked, we would go on Zoom like we're doing right now and have a conversation with you, get to know who you are, where you want to go, what's the purpose behind the journey, and see if we're a mutual fit, if it's beneficial for you to work with us and vice versa. Because some people are not ready to take a deep dive into discovery of self. And through that process, once you've been accepted and enrolled into we'll call it the program, our offering, It's a 4-month container. We're with you. So we can break it down to like 3 segments where the first 4 weeks is on Zoom, and there'd be video content that you would have to be with. And we would get to know you even more and build a trust and rapport with you. And then you would come in person to our center in BC and spend 4 days with us. And in that 4 days, there would be 2 ceremonies and 2 days of integration. And on the 5th day, you would depart, go home, and we would be with you through the integration process, which is vitally important, for at least 3 months. And that is when the work really happens, that you are taking what you've learned, what was shown, and what was taught to you, to integrate that into your life. So you have a new way of being and doing in the world, other than going back to the old habits that no longer serve you.
And so, and I think, I mean, from what I understand, right, the rapport is important so that you trust, right? So that there's a level of trust when you go through the experience. Are you finding that people who are, coming to the retreat or who would go to the retreat are first times, people who have never tried psychedelics before? Are these people who have a lot of experience with psychedelics?
I think it's a combination of both. I'd say it's probably more leaning towards people who want to venture into having their first experience, and maybe they tried it in university, or maybe they tried it when they were younger, but didn't meet it with that high level of respect of discovering self. It was more about just having fun with friends. And when you actually have a guide with you, when you actually have someone who's going to be working with you on the inner planes, it's a big game changer, and it allows you to discover deeper aspects of self when you have someone there creating space for you to take care of every single need that you have when you're on those inner planes, and you're digging away at some of the unknown aspects of self, or some of the aspects that have been hidden away for a while. So we believe that it can be a little bit uncomfortable, or a lot uncomfortable, in that experience. And so part of what we offer the world is a journey in an actual luxurious setting, in a luxurious environment. And that's just basically a big part of what we love to offer the world, that as you're in those uncomfortable places, you should be really, really comfortable in a safe, secure environment.
So this leads me to a couple of questions. Really, the first is, when we say psychedelics, are we talking about mushrooms? Are we talking about, ayahuasca? Or, what is the sort of the medium of the psychedelic?
Yeah, so the main medicine that we use is psilocybin, otherwise known as magic mushrooms. And we have various strains that we work with, and it's typically based on the individuals that are with us. Again, we've taken the time to get to know people, and we have a fairly deep understanding of what they're there to work on and with. So it's really curated for the individual, or the individuals that we're working with.
And I can hear people asking, is it legal? It must be legal in at least that part of Canada.
It's a mushroom that grows in the forest.
Okay. All right. So, I think people have a lot of sort of preconceptions and misconceptions when it comes to this. And, I guess I'm thinking, these 4 days, are you just tripping the whole I mean, like, how does it break down? I think people think, because when people think of psychedelics, right, they think that you are like, when you see it in movies and stuff, it doesn't really capture what it's actually like. I mean, you see, like, in movies, they do the bright colors and the wavy lines on the screen, because there's only so much you can really, show in, in the 2D medium. So, in those 4 days, what is it? Is it just like full on, or is it, small doses, or how does it work?
So there's no tripping. A trip is what you do with your friends running around the woods or hanging out. And with us, it's a deep interfacing journey. and it's a sacred journey as well, because it's for the people who really want to grow and really want to apply the learnings and the teachings in their life. And most people who come and work with us, when they leave reluctantly, because most of them want to stay and live with Rob and Gary, but most people know that they have a few years of work ahead of them integrating what they've discovered. So it's not about doing it every weekend. It's essentially, I would say it's like an initiation that people come through, and that initiation sort of really allows people to know that, oh, this is much different than the preconceived notions of like running around in a field with your friends, or just tripping out on pretty pictures. So it's really you getting to know you and discovering deeper realms within yourself that you then bridge back into your reality. So we believe that every single bit of information in the journey that you discover is for you to weave back into your reality.
And so, you know, people consume, they have their mushrooms, and then what does the journey sort of look like as it starts to take off? I mean, it's probably different for everybody, but you know, for somebody who's thinking, because I think really the media when it comes to psychedelics has really changed a lot in the last maybe 10 years. It's just very recently that it's become something that's not just like you said, just like something you do in college, and then it has no purpose or no medicinal use. But I think now people are really coming around to the fact that it does have some practical applications. So for somebody who doesn't, maybe who hasn't experienced that, what are those, those first few hours like, or that just first beginning of the journey like?
The most important thing is that you're able to surrender and not try to control the journey. We teach you all about that prior to coming, to the best of our ability. But you as a human, there's still going to be a control issue that you think you're able to not manipulate, but provide the direction you want it to go. And in the end, as soon as you surrender and let go, the journey begins. It's letting go of any idea of what you think you're going to see, and just be open to receive what you see and what's been shown to you. There's nothing to fear. You're not going to lose your mind. You're going to find your mind. You're going to clear out the shit that no longer serves you, to clear the path forward on a new way of being. So break the old habits, not erase them, just release them, so you can create a new way of being, a new habitual, conscious way of living. So we can't tell you what you're going to see. We only can be there to guide you through the terrain of your experience and be with you all the way through. You're with us for 4 days, but there's only 2 actual ceremonies. And the ceremonies can last 3 to 5 to 6 hours, depending on the person and depending on the dose. It's not microdose. You're anywhere from 2.5 maybe to 3.5 to 4, depending on the person and their experience. And after the 4 days, what are the results? Some of the results are clarity, calm, at peace, contentment, confidence,
a freedom to express and create what you have always wanted to create. There's like, you've cleared out the energetic closet of who you are, and as a result, there's more space in your closet of yourself for the things that really matter to you. And so there's with that shedding of the old, the masks or the projections of society, culture, parents, friends gets released, and with that there's essentially a greater light within you that's shining through you out into the world. And people typically ask, like, you're different, like, what have you done? And it's like, yeah, you're supposed to be different as you grow. So you're not supposed to be the same person your whole entire life. And that change, it's palpable. It's, you can see it, people can sense it, and it's a really potent, powerful process. And just to circle back, like to give the listeners an idea of what it looks like in the actual ceremony, we prepare you and we train you to go into silence and go into stillness, so that the medicine of Rob and Gary with the medicine of the plant medicine can actually teach you. So for the most part, if someone was looking from the outside to the inside of what's taking place in the ceremony, most people are laying in stillness and in silence for like 3 to 5 to 6, possibly more hours. And there's really not a lot happening on the outside, but there's a lot happening on the inside.
Music is played, so it's not silence in the room. There is music that's curated for the individuals that come through. So we don't drum, we don't chant.
You don't want to listen to me sing.
My drumming's offbeat anyways.
And do people come alone, or do they, bring family members or friends, or loved ones, or people who may not be partaking, but is it just an individual type experience?
Yeah, anyone who is here is in the actual journey. It's not a vacation center where one person's coming in to do the work and the rest of the family's milling about. The people, it's only for the people who are actually doing the work, and we work with 1 to 4 people at a time. So if it's a solo, it's that one person that we're working with for those 4 entire days, or there could be 2 people, or there could be up to 4 people maximum, because we believe that journeys are meant to be personalized, because there's an actual person there, and it's the focused intent that really helps people shift and recognize that they're being cared for at a really, really high level. And it's in larger groups, it's really easy to hide and not actually take what you've learned and apply it into your life.
And I guess for people listening, what is the retreat itself like? What are the surroundings like? What are the rooms like? That kind of thing, just for them to have an idea of the atmosphere.
Yeah, we think it's a 5-star home, which is our center, high on a mountain, beautiful views of a lake and the surrounding areas, very private. Wildlife are in the yard, the deers are in the yard. Everybody has their own room. It's all self-contained in one space in the house. And there's forest in the back that we go hiking. There's time that if people are into going by the water, by the lake, we go by the lake. Those are the integration days. But the environment is luxurious, safe, secure, and private.
Mm-hmm. And as you're describing this, I'm thinking about the people who are like, I don't know about the psychedelic part. They're thinking like, that seems intimidating. So for somebody who's never tried it, for example, like how, if you were going to give them an elevator pitch on what this is, because I think a lot of people think, there's just like kind of a line people make, not with alcohol usually, but with other, drugs, right? So they think that they're dangerous, or, that, I don't know. I guess they're basing it what they've maybe seen in movies or heard. If you were going to describe that, like the elevator pitch of psychedelics to somebody, how would you go about that?
Do you want to know yourself?
That's basically it. It's not really about the psychedelics. The mushroom is part of the work, and it will assist you on your journey to release old stagnant energy that no longer serves you. And we would just say, are you ready for change? And if you are, this is how we work. if you don't want a drastic change immediately. Not drastic, it does happen. And if you're ready to shift, and then now's the time. And if I always say, if not now, when? Because you keep coming up with the same stuff all the time, and there's no other way of getting through it. There is talk therapy, there is other modalities that you can use. But as we've spoken to clients, they've been through talk therapy, and some talk therapists say, I only could go this far with you. Perhaps there's something else you should research. And then they research and they find that this is a new path moving forward. It's not an easy path, but it's a path of commitment to yourself for growth.
And, you mentioned that you see more people who are depressed and anxious. It's a big question, but, why do you think there's sort of this crossroads now between the increase of people at least reporting it, right? So maybe it might not be more, but and also psychedelic, where these two things are kind of meeting. I wonder why you think that might be happening.
Yeah, so psychedelics have been used for eons. They haven't just been used for the last 30 or 40 years. It's been for as long as humans have been around, people have been working with psychedelics and many different types of psychedelics. It's not just mushrooms. And with that, there has always been a desire to know more and to understand more. And like when you really zoom out, it's like we are little tiny specks of dust. We're like little ants running around this speck of dust known as Earth. And I think there's this deep inner knowing that a lot of us have forgotten that we haven't connected in with. And as a result, because we haven't connected in with it, we haven't been given the structures and the tools and the containers to actually move into that connection and into that remembering of who we truly are and what we've really come here to do. That whole piece, like there is that crossroad of more and more people are depressed, more and more people have anxiety, more and more people have grief that they haven't processed, because the systems and the institutions that are out there right now aren't able to actually support that level of expansion and consciousness. So we're at the forefront of a new beginning where humanity is like, enough is enough. Let's actually let people use nature to connect into their own nature so that that nature can be expressed the way that it's truly intended to be.
And how did this, we talked about ego and sort of this being able to look at yourself. Maybe if you have just sort of an example for somebody who's trying to picture that and say, well, I think a lot of people probably come there and as you talked with them before they visit the retreat for those months, they probably have an idea of like, okay, I've got this issue, or this parent of mine really, messed me up, or whatever it is. They have these notions, but what does that look like when you get there and you're at the retreat? How is that tackling those issues different than talk therapy, for example? How does it change that perspective for you? Tough question.
I think, yeah, no, I think you can only talk about it for so long until you actually have to recognize that if I'm talking about what happened yesterday or in yesteryear, there comes a point in time where we have to drop victimhood. We have to drop any ideas that incident or happenings that were taking place in your life, that they actually serve a higher purpose and they're there to teach you. Even the most horrific experiences that someone might have been through, it's still there to teach you to grow. And so when we change the lens that we're looking through, when we change our perception of what has happened, then we can actually liberate ourselves from it. And from that liberation, we can actually write a new story about who we're here to be. And until we do that, nothing's going to change. Because if you're there just repeating the same old story over and over and over again about what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even in childhood, until you detach yourself from those old emotions and you're willing to actually do that, typically that can only really be completed by you with the proper guidance of you going on the inside and cleansing and clearing that at a quantum level, at a deep energetic level, so that you no longer have an emotional charge to those happenings. And that's when the real growth, more space is available for you to actually receive what you're here to do in the next 5 years, as opposed to only looking backwards to the last 5 years.
And what does the average, client look like, or is there a demographic, or you find that people are, you know, realizing these things when they're older, or maybe, surprisingly younger, or is there a specific type of groups of people that you see?
Anywhere from 21 to 65. Average would probably in their late 40s, early 50s. And especially entrepreneurs, they've had a successful career. They're doing really well, but they know there's something more than where they're at right now. And or they want to change careers, they want to change a path, or they're going, this is what I've always wanted to do in my life. I want to be in that road, in that street, moving forward in my life, other than this mundane path that I'm just going through. So they awaken on their own, a lot of them, and they are directed in our direction or to very similar modalities for change and shift. Because, as he said, the talk therapists are brilliant for what they do, and very helpful. But as Rob says, how much talking can you do? Even people that talk to their friends over and over again, it's like, so I would always say, so I've heard the story 3 times. How is this story serving me in my path moving forward? And they look at you, it's like, it doesn't. Is that right? Does it serve you? And they go, no. I said, so what are we going to do? No longer tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
You can grieve that story and release and let it go. So you give it a ceremony, and that's what happens in a journey. You're giving ceremony to those stories that no longer serve you. You're saying, goodbye, thank you, I've learned from you. Now this is the path that I'm in control to move forward with.
Wow. Well, I think you've made certainly me intrigued about, this the retreat idea. I think that, sort of for a lot of people who need or who would like, some kind of structure around, it kind of, it gives it some sort of credence. And also, a lot of people want, like, okay, you've laid it out. We have these calls for the months. We have the 4 days at the retreat, and then we move on to the next stage. I think that for a lot of people is really something that's appealing. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think the interest in psychedelics too is increasing. And I hope people listening, are more interested. I'm certainly, interested. I'm like, that seems like it might be something unique, something different, something that can help, change your outlook. Because I mean, we're only here for so long. I always just look at it like it's kind of cool that we can look at the world in different ways, right? And
Yes.
kind of change. You can't physically change, the world around you, but your perception of it can change it for you, right? So
yeah, you take control of the direction of your life and how you want to be and how you want to feel and how you want to react and respond, other than going on old habits of old habitual programming that is outdated. We're evolving. We need to evolve every moment of our life.
well, and so people will just go to the website, the Journeyman Collective, and they can see the retreat and the whole program and everything there.
Yeah, they go to www.thejourneymancollective.com, and we don't mind the word retreat, but you're not coming to retreat from anything. You're coming here to do some work. So we call it a center. So yeah, there's plenty of retreats to go to. That's maybe the gift to self afterwards.
Okay, perfect. And it sounds like a beautiful, just a beautiful area as well. Just,
Yeah,
I mean,
we love it.
well, thank you very much for your time. I'll leave a link to the center in the show notes so people can find you. Like I said, I'm certainly interested. I think people listening might be, interested as well. And it's just funny how this talk of psychedelics has shifted so much in such a short period of time. It's really, really fascinating.
Thanks very much for watching this episode of the foXnoMad podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below so you don't miss any new videos, and I'll see you in the next one.